They were stranded in places no one was meant to survive, lost at sea, trapped beneath stone, or alone in the wilderness. But somehow, they made it back. They are the people who defied the odds and lived to tell the tale. Here's the 5 strange survival stories after being lost. Story 1. Adrift in the endless Pacific, one man defied all odds. For 438 days, he battled isolation, storms, and starvation, and somehow lived to tell the tale. This is the story of José Salvador Alvarenga, the fisherman who vanished at sea and returned as a living miracle. José Salvador Alvarenga was born in El Salvador, a man shaped by the ocean. He worked as a fisherman along the coast of Mexico, known for his skills, experience, and strong work ethic. In late 2012, he set out on what was supposed to be a simple 2-day fishing trip with a younger companion, Ezequiel Cordoba. Neither could have imagined that this trip would turn into one of the longest recorded survival stories in maritime history. On November 17, 2012, Alvarenga and Cordoba departed from Costa Azul, Mexico, aboard a small 23-foot fiberglass boat. Their goal was to catch sharks and other fish, a routine job they'd done countless times. But just a few hours into the journey, a powerful storm rolled in. Strong winds and towering waves battered their vessel, damaging their radio and sweeping away their equipment. With no working motor and no way to call for help, the men drifted farther and farther from shore. Days turned into weeks. They survived by catching fish with their hands and collecting rainwater in small containers. Tragically, José's young companion didn't survive the ordeal, leaving him completely alone in the vast Pacific. For over a year, he floated through storms, scorching sun, and unbearable loneliness. He found solace in faith, memory, and the will to live. Then, on January 30th, 2014, more than 400 days after he left Mexico, José spotted land. He had drifted over 6,000 miles across the ocean to a small, remote island in the Marshall Islands. Locals found him weak, sunburned, and disoriented, but alive.
I would like to say thanks to the government of this place for supporting me and for being my friends, he said. Thank you for taking care of me.
When José was rescued, many were skeptical. How could a man survive more than a year at sea with no modern tools? Experts analyzed his story, and surprisingly, most of it checked out. His description of ocean currents, drift patterns, and even bird migrations matched scientific records. Still, questions lingered. Some wondered if every detail was true, or if memory had blurred after so many months of isolation. But medical examinations confirmed severe dehydration, muscle loss, and exposure, consistent with his claims. Over time, public perception shifted from disbelief to admiration. Alvarenga wasn't just a survivor, he was living proof of the human spirit's resilience. After his rescue, José returned to El Salvador, seeking peace and anonymity. His life at sea became a book titled 438 Days, capturing the extraordinary endurance that kept him alive. His story remains one of the most remarkable accounts of survival ever recorded, a reminder that even in the darkest, most hopeless moments, the will to live can be stronger than the sea itself. If you were lost at sea, completely alone, how long could you hold on? Story 2. 50 days alone in the frozen Canadian wilderness, with no map, no signal, and no guarantee of rescue. This is the story of Sam Benastick, the man who vanished into nature and somehow walked back out alive. Sam Benastick, 20-year-old at that time, was an avid outdoorsman from northern British Columbia, known for his quiet confidence and deep respect for nature. He spent most weekends hiking, fishing, or exploring remote trails near the Yukon border. He loved the outdoors and had made careful preparations for a solo adventure. Among his supplies was one jar of peanut butter, which he would later reveal lasted him for nearly 20 days. In early October 2024, Sam set off for what was meant to be a 10-day solo camping trip in the rugged backcountry of Redfern-Kiley Provincial Park in British Columbia's northern Rocky Mountains. He told his family he'd return by approximately October 17th, but when he didn't, concern grew. On October 19th, 2 days after his expected return, his family reported him missing. Search and rescue teams were deployed across the vast wilderness. Helicopters, drones, volunteers scoured the terrain, yet for weeks there was no trace. Unknown to them, Sam was alive, but fighting to survive. After parking his vehicle and camping in his car for 10 to 15 days early in the ordeal, he ventured deeper into the wilderness where his supplies dwindled. With his compass damaged and no signal, he used fallen branches and snow, river water, the jar of peanut butter, and sheer will to keep moving. The northern BC wilderness is unforgiving. Freezing nights, sudden storms, deep valleys, fast rivers, wild animals, and terrain so remote that help might be days or weeks away. For 50 days, Sam faced these conditions: relentless cold, unpredictable weather, isolation, yet he refused to give up hope. At the end of November, Sam's journey reached its turning point. On November 26th, while walking along a service road inside Redfern-Kiley, 250 kilometers southwest of Fort Nelson, Sam flagged down 2 trail workers headed into the park. According to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, he was supporting himself with 2 walking sticks and wrapped his cut-up sleeping bag around his legs for warmth. Weak but alive, he told them simply, "I never stopped walking." They helped him to safety, and he was taken to hospital for evaluation and rest, a rescue described by officials as a miracle of timing and endurance. When he was stable, Sam met up with Mike Reed, Buffalo Inn general manager, where Sam's family stayed during his search and rescue operation. Mike, who had been involved in search efforts, was amused by Sam's survival in the wilderness.
He had cut his sleeping bag and wrapped it around his legs and his feet. So he knew how to survive.
Their meeting symbolized relief, solidarity, and the triumph of survival through wilderness endurance. After recovery, Sam said the key to survival wasn't brute strength. It was focus, patience, believing that every small step mattered, and relying on what outdoor experience he had. His story is more than just endurance. It's a testament to human resilience against nature's most extreme challenges. If you found yourself alone in the wild, would you have the will to keep moving? Story 3. 3 teenage boys vanished into the Pacific, their tiny boat drifting for 51 days across thousands of miles. Families mourned them until a passing ship spotted movement on the horizon. In October 2010, 3 boys, Samuel Palesa, Philo, both 15 years old, and Edward Nassau, 14 years old, set out from Atafu Atoll, one of the remote Tokelauan Islands, halfway between New Zealand and Hawaii. They were bright, adventurous teenagers. Like most in their small community, they'd grown up surrounded by the ocean. The sea was their playground, their livelihood, and their freedom. The boys had borrowed a small aluminum boat, apparently without permission, planning a short trip between islets. They carried 20 coconuts for food and little else, but the reason for setting out was far from an official expedition. The boys had been drinking vodka at a gathering and admitted they decided to go look for some more. They started the boat trip in a state of youthful recklessness rather than a carefully planned journey. But somewhere in the endless blue, the current carried them far from home. When they didn't return that evening, an island-wide search began. Boats, planes, and rescue teams scoured the sea for days, but there was no sign of them. After 8 days, officials called off the search. Families grieved, memorials were held, but the boys were still out there, and no one knows that they are still alive. with only 20 coconuts that lasted for the first few days. After that, survival became instinct. For the next 48 days, they lived off rainwater they collected in containers and by catching and eating small fish and even a seabird that landed on their boat. Each day was a battle against sun, hunger, and isolation, but they refused to give up. On the 51st day, a tuna fishing vessel, the San Nikunau, spotted movement in the waves. Through binoculars, the crew saw something unbelievable: 3 young boys waving frantically from a drifting boat. When the boys were pulled aboard, they were exhausted but alive. The crew gave them food, water, and medical care. Their first words were simply, "Thank you very much for stopping."
I realized that you were lost. Okay.
When we were like 2 weeks on the sea.
The news of their survival spread quickly from New Zealand to the world. After weeks of mourning, their families learned they were safe. The reunion that followed was one of pure joy, an entire island celebrating the impossible.
We're gonna have a party when we get there.
Samuel, Philo, and Edward's story reminds us that risky choices can lead into the unknown, and that even when a journey begins in youth, rebellion, or folly, it can end in an extraordinary test of endurance. Story 4. She fell 2 miles from the sky and lived. Alone in the Amazon rainforest, a teenage girl's will to survive would defy every odd imaginable. On December 24, 1971, Juliane Koepcke, a 17-year-old German-Peruvian student, boarded Lanza Flight 508 with her mother. They were flying from Lima to Pucallpa to spend Christmas together with her father. Born in Lima on October 10, 1954, Juliane Koepcke was the daughter of 2 German zoologists who had moved to Peru to study wildlife. In the early 1970s, her father campaigned to protect the Amazon from deforestation, hunting, and colonization. Dedicated to preserving the rainforest, her parents left Lima to establish Panguana, a biological research station deep in the jungle. There, Juliane grew up surrounded by wildlife, learning how to identify plants, insects, and animal calls, and how to survive in one of the world's most diverse yet unforgiving ecosystems. She was comfortable with nature, used to isolation, and fascinated by the jungle's rhythm of life. But nothing could have prepared her for what was about to happen. Midway through the flight, the plane encountered a violent thunderstorm. Lightning flashed around them, and turbulence shook the cabin. Moments later, disaster struck. Juliane was the sole survivor of a devastating crash that destroyed the aircraft and claimed every other life on board, including her mother. When she regained consciousness, she found herself alone in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, injured, disoriented, and surrounded by dense wilderness. Juliane had grown up learning from her parents about the rainforest's plants and wildlife. That knowledge became her lifeline. Despite her injuries, she remembered one crucial rule: follow water. Streams lead to rivers, and rivers lead to people. For the next 11 days, she made her way through the jungle, surviving on small sips of river water and bits of candy she found in her pocket. She slept under leaves, waded through muddy water, and endured constant rain and insect bites. Each day was a test of courage and endurance, but she never stopped walking. Years later, Juliane would say she felt guided, that every sound, every ripple in the water was leading her closer to safety. After 11 days of walking, Juliane came across a small logging hut along the riverbank. Inside, she found tools and a barrel of fuel, proof that people were nearby. Soon after, a group of local workers discovered her and brought her to safety. She was weak but alive, the lone survivor of a tragedy that had claimed more than 90 lives. Her rescue astonished the world. The girl who fell from the sky had walked her way out of the Amazon. Years later, Juliane returned to the crash site and retraced the same path she had taken through the rainforest. Standing amid the wreckage, she said the forest no longer felt like a place of terror, but of truth. Revisiting the jungle helped her make peace with what happened and strengthened her bond with the natural world she had once fought to escape.
When I came to, I realized pretty quickly what must have happened to me. I had crashed down in the middle of the jungle and the plane was gone.
Juliane Koepcke's survival is one of the most remarkable stories ever told, not of luck, but of knowledge, courage, and determination. She went on to become a biologist, dedicating her life to studying the rainforest that once nearly claimed her. Her story reminds us that even in the darkest moments, the human spirit can find a way to endure and rise again. Story 5. He set out alone to explore the Canyonlands area, but one slip changed everything. For 6 days, he was trapped between life and death, forced to make the most unthinkable choice to survive. On April 26, 2003, 27-year-old Aron Ralston drove deep into the canyons of Utah for a weekend of solo adventure. He was a mechanical engineer, mountaineer, and outdoorsman, known for his skill, confidence, and love of challenge. That morning, he parked his truck near Blue John Canyon, packed his climbing gear, and left without telling anyone where he was going, a decision that would soon define his story. As he navigated a narrow slot canyon, a large boulder shifted unexpectedly, crashing down and pinning his right arm against the rock wall. In seconds, Aron found himself completely trapped. He tried to pull free, chip at the rock, and even rig makeshift levers, but the boulder didn't move an inch. Alone, miles from the nearest trail, with no cell signal and little water, Aron realized no one knew he was missing. He rationed what little he had, kept a video diary for his family, and waited, hoping someone would come. By the 5th day, Aron was weak, dehydrated, and slipping in and out of consciousness. That night, he had a vivid dream. He saw himself standing free, smiling, and playing with a small child. In the dream, he noticed something striking. His right arm was missing. When he woke, he believed it was a sign that he would survive, that he would live to have a family. That vision ignited a new determination inside him. He realized that if he wanted to live, he would have to act and do whatever it took to escape.
My name's Aron Ralston. My parents are Donna and Larry Ralston of Englewood, Colorado.
Years later, Aron would describe that dream as the moment his spirit came back to life. Aron used his remaining strength to free himself using his dull pocket knife and then began the long hike out of the canyon. After hours under the scorching desert sun, he encountered a family of hikers who immediately called for help. A rescue helicopter soon arrived, airlifting him to safety. Against impossible odds, Aron had survived 6 days alone in the Blue John Canyon, a testament to willpower and the human instinct to live. Aron Ralston's story became a symbol of resilience and survival. He later wrote his memoir, Between a Rock and a Hard Place, which inspired the film 127 Hours, portrayed by James Franco.
It's all been a blessing. What the gift of it is that it draws me out of my daily experience into a place of appreciation and gratitude.
Today, Aron continues to climb and share his experience, using his story to teach others about courage, preparation, and the strength of the human spirit. In the silence of the desert, Aron Ralston found not just survival, but purpose. His story reminds us all that even when trapped by impossible circumstances, there's always a way forward. Each of them faced the unthinkable, yet found the strength to survive. Their stories remind us that even in the most desperate moments, hope can still light the way home.